Welcome back to Cliffhangers and Page Turners, everyone. Great to have you with us for our 10th episode.
Episode 10 already, wow.
I know. I'm Cliff. As always, I'm joined by Paige, and today we are cracking open A New America by Aaron Morell. And let me tell you, if you're after a story with twists and turns, well, you're in the right place.
Definitely.
Think of this as your, fast track into a really thought-provoking and pretty immersive near-future scenario.
And what makes Morell's book so, compelling is that it's not just some dry political analysis, right? He actually goes there. He throws himself right into the heart of this hypothetical nation, and wow, it definitely got us talking.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of those premises that just grabs you, doesn't it? This whole idea of a part of the U.S., Idaho, Montana, Washington, in this case, actually seceding, forming a new nation, independence.
It's a pretty huge what if to start with. So let's get into that secession movement itself, because the book doesn't ease you in.
No, it really doesn't. You've got this People's Committee for Self-Determination making their declaration right off the bat.
And the language.
Yeah.
It's striking, isn't it? Very clearly echoing the original Declaration of Independence.
Deliberately so, you feel. Talking about dissolving political bands, assuming a separate and equal station. It sets the tone immediately. This isn't just, a minor policy disagreement.
No kidding. And what's interesting is how that initial spark just ignites everything else.
Yeah, the author shows how commentary just exploded. Media, social networks.
Yeah.
It became a sort of magnet for all kinds of existing anger.
A focal point for just general discontent almost.
Exactly. It wasn't just about secession anymore. It was a channel for so much frustration that was already there.
And it spilled over from words into action pretty quickly. That bombing in Spokane.
Right. The FBI office. Chaos, the violence erupting. It really brings home the intensity.
It feels very raw, very emotional.
Absolutely. And the author really hammers home the role of the media in all this. He talks about news outlets being like rituals of daily observance.
That's a great phrase, like a daily habit reinforcing what you already believe.
Yeah. And social media bolstering the faithful, as he puts it, creating these echo chambers. Plus, the constant background noise of talk radio.
Just amplifying all the anxiety.
Exactly.
You have this hope of the new nation. It sounds so optimistic.
Right, that fresh start feeling after secession. Very revolutionary.
Yeah, exactly. But then, almost in the same breath, you start feeling this undercurrent of anxiety, this fear of losing control that seems to just permeate the whole secession movement.
It wasn't just about ideals, was it?
No, it felt deeper. Like it was driven by these small town, rural communities feeling genuinely left behind. That vulnerability, that fear, it felt like the real engine behind it all.
Yeah, and you realize it's not just political. It's this cultural economic divide, this feeling of losing agency. And secession was their way to try and grab it back.
Makes you think about how often big societal shifts are driven by those really personal worries about the future.
Totally. It's that classic tension, isn't it?
Right.
Progress versus preserving a way of life. These communities felt threatened, and secession was this huge, maybe flawed attempt to protect what they had. Which brings us to what might be the core feeling driving it all. And he suggests, doesn't he, that maybe self-determination isn't the whole story, that it might be more about control.
Yeah, I think he subtly gets at that. That maybe underneath the talk of self-determination, there's this deep-seated fear of losing control. Control over their way of life, their values. In a country they feel is changing too fast. What does self-determination really mean here? It makes you wonder.
And these feelings, they don't just stay abstract. They lead to actual events, like the Flatland Revolution in Meade County.
Yeah.
That sounds quite symbolic.
It does. And then the Freedom 5 taking over the courthouse in Garden City, which gets renamed Capital City. That feels like a really pivotal moment, a small act of defiance that just escalates.
Yeah, the spark. What's really interesting, though, is that statistics Roman finds about who actually wanted this.
Right. That's crucial. He points out that while a majority in the biggest towns opposed secession, the vast majority in the smaller towns were all for it.
So it raises that question. Was independence really created by the people already living in those counties? Or was it more for people from elsewhere who just wanted this kind of nation?
Exactly. And that fear, it just breeds suspicion, doesn't it? Creates the friction Morell shows so vividly.
Which is right where Roman Wolf, our journalist protagonist, steps in. He's the outsider.
Right, coming into independence to try and figure it all out.
Right. And that first scene at the Colorado border station, wow, it tells you so much right away.
Oh, yeah. The U.S. side is almost hostile, and then crossing into independence, it's this slightly over-the-top welcome.
It immediately signals you're in a different world. Different rules, different anxieties.
And the economics of it hit you straight away. That handwritten sign at the border, no trade activities for visitors, strictly forbidden.
Speaks volumes about the blockade, doesn't it? The isolation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As Roman goes deeper, the descriptions, the potholes, the boarded up businesses, it paints a picture of a nation really struggling, just trying to keep the lights on.
It's such a stark contrast to those initial dreams of prosperity they must have had.
But it's not all bleak. There's resilience there, too. Like the Windsor Hotel restoration.
Oh, the Waldorf of the Prairies. I love that bit. Using barter, community investment, even their own local money, the Buffalo Bucks.
Right. It shows this incredible ingenuity, this determination to make things work, even when the usual systems are broken.
Necessity is the mother of invention kind of thing.
Exactly. It shows how communities adapt when things get tough. But those same economic pressures, they also fuel the social tensions, which leads us to that awful homicide, Daniel Velasquez.
Yeah, that felt like a real turning point. This small business owner murdered, and immediately, boom, militia activity surges.
Fueled by that fear of illegal immigrants.
And the rhetoric from that militia leader, calling it a mercenary execution. So inflammatory.
And it tapped right into existing prejudices, didn't it? Especially with Los Agores being mostly Latino and the surrounding county largely white. It just starkly highlighted that rural-urban ethnic divide.
Mm-hmm. And you see how media plays into it. The New York Times article, the local talk radio.
Yeah, amplifying the fears, talking up a border crisis. It feeds directly into recruitment for guys like Bud Keller and his militia.
That rally scene where Keller is just stoking those fears. Outsiders taking land, threatening families. It's pretty chilling to read. Shows how easily anxiety gets manipulated.
It really does. But then you get other voices, different perspectives trying to break through.
Like at the American Legion meeting with Dobbs and Leiker.
Right. Dobbs is focused on practical stuff, government accountability, those natural gas resources, which, by the way, were cheaper, but still super expensive for people there.
Good point. And then you have Leiker, much more confrontational, echoing those militia claims about a criminal incursion.
It felt like watching the community fracture, didn't it? Dobbs trying for pragmatic solutions, Leiker and others driven by suspicion and fear. That internal division is a huge hurdle for independence.
Definitely. Okay, let's talk about John Becker. What was your take on him? Such an enigma.
Yeah, very enigmatic. Pops up with these cryptic warnings for Roman, helps him with that wire transfer out of the blue.
And tells him to stay at the Wheatlands Motel. Why there?
Well, he mentions Truman Capote stayed there, right? It sort of links Roman's journalism to Capote delving into that dark event in cold blood.
Yeah.
It adds this layer of foreboding, maybe.
Interesting. And Becker warns Roman not to get too involved personally. Foreshadowing.
Seems like it. He's like this reluctant guide, hinting at deeper dangers without spelling them out.
And then you have completely different groups, like the Zapatistas and Consuela, offering a totally different vision.
Yeah, that was important. Their focus on egalitarianism, solidarity. It's such a contrast to the fear and isolationism we see elsewhere.
It shows not everyone in independence is buying into the same narrative.
Exactly. They represent this alternative path, one based on cooperation, not exclusion.
Then there's President Washington, his rare appearances, like that address about secret routes and mercenaries.
And the reaction in CJ's saloon. You could feel the tension, that mix of fear and anger.
Mm-hmm. And what about the Freedom Five?
Yeah.
The original activists.
Yeah, figures central to secession, but now, like Jerry Hickman, there's the sense of disillusionment, like they're almost relics.
Like the revolution moved on without them.
Kind of. It shows how movements evolve, and that initial fire can fade, leaving people feeling, well, irrelevant.
And the whole Sheriff Jones disappearance, followed by the Attorney General stepping in. That felt murky.
Definitely raised questions about transparency, maybe government overreach. Something wasn't adding up there.
And then the Home Defense Act, given its link to that unpopular wartime powers bill, felt like a power grab.
Yeah, it sparked those concerns about civil liberties, didn't it? Using a crisis to expand government authority, a classic pattern, unfortunately.
Okay, we have to talk about Kat. So complex. Why did she even go back to independence?
Good question. Leaving Dallas, searching for something, maybe more authentic. But she's carrying so many secrets.
In connection to Gail Jones, the hidden marriage. Wow.
Yeah, she really embodies the contradictions and the hidden parts of independence. And her relationship with Roman is just central to everything. It gets tangled up in the whole nation's identity crisis.
Speaking of tangled, that Holcomb standoff, what a mess.
Right. So tense. The confusion about why those 3 Latino men were even there, how fast the militias showed up.
And then federal intervention, the pardons. And Mayor Blatt just throwing gasoline on the fire with those unsubstantiated claims about gangs and cartels.
It was like a pressure cooker, wasn't it? All the fear of outsiders, the rumors, the distrust, just exploding. The pardons stopped the immediate crisis, but those underlying tensions are still there.
For sure. And the politics. The upcoming election, Washington, Whitehead, Gonzales, all with the different platforms.
And figures like Maud Grease and IBS Media shaping the narrative. It felt like a really volatile political scene.
Especially with the food and fuel crises getting worse in the background.
Yeah.
That just adds to the instability.
Oh, absolutely. Those shortages make everything feel more desperate, more anxious for ordinary people.
Which explains the growing paranoia, maybe. Rick Ballard's constant warnings.
And Kat buying a gun.
Yeah, it creates this atmosphere of a society under siege from inside and out.
It feels like trust is just breaking down everywhere. And then another murder, Jesus Criollo, and the investigation involving Tom Jones, the Emmett brothers. It hints at something darker, maybe criminal, operating under the surface.
Uneven justice, maybe? Or just hard to find?
Seems possible. And through all this, there's Roman and Kat's relationship. So many secrets, misunderstandings.
Well, moments of real connection, too, right? In the middle of all the chaos.
Definitely. Which makes her departure and that letter feel so significant. Like a real turning point.
Left you wondering, didn't it? About her reasons, about their whole connection.
Yeah. It mirrors the uncertainty of independence itself. Fragile, built on shaky ground.
And then Juan Diego decides to leave, too. That felt sad, like another piece of the initial hope, just slipping away.
It did. His parting gifts to Roman and Tommy were touching, but it felt like saying goodbye to a dream that didn't quite work out for him.
And the political chaos continues. President Gonzales disappears. Senator Mooney steps up.
Yeah, Mooney, who was part of that earlier anti-Gonzales push. It feels cyclical, like the same conflicts just keep resurfacing. Highlights how fragile that new government really is.
So the book ends with Roman staying, even after Kat's gone. He finds that money strap in her office.
More questions.
Right. And he's just watching, observing. It feels like his story there isn't finished.
No, definitely not. His choice to stay suggests he's invested, maybe reluctantly, in understanding what independence becomes. And that money strap just adds another layer to Kat's mystery. We're left hanging.
So wrapping up, Roman Wolf is our guide through all this.
Yeah.
What's the final take? And the big themes. For me, it's identity, building a new society, the power of fear and misinformation, the struggle for control.
I think Roman works really well. He's flawed, he's an outsider, but gets drawn in, makes him relatable. And yeah, the themes are powerful, the sheer difficulty of nation building, how easily fear can be weaponized, that basic human need for security when everything feels uncertain.
And was it a page turner for you? A cliffhanger?
Oh, absolutely. All those unresolved threads, the constant tension, wondering what happens next to Roman, to independence. Morell definitely keeps you hooked.
Me too. Well, this has been a fantastic discussion. And listeners, if you've read it, please share your thoughts in the comments. Your favorite bits, your theories. That's what makes this feel like a real book club.
Yeah, we'd love to hear them.
And if you haven't read it yet, maybe we've tempted you to pick it up. Remember to like, comment, share this discussion with other readers, and definitely subscribe to Cliffhangers and Page Turners so you don't miss our next deep dive.
And you can find out more about the author, Aaron Morell, at aaronmorell.com.
Right. And join us next week for episode 11. We're switching it up for a literary classic week, diving into Mark Twain's The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Should be interesting.
Looking forward to that one.
Me too. But until then, happy reading.